I am Dan Brusky, Product Manager for Industrial Instrumentation, which is pressure and level sensors. And we're going to go over what we have for our pressure sensors, our offering, and particularly what's in the demo case to show you what's in the demo case and a couple of different ways that you can demonstrate it. So this is the demo case that you can get from a demo case loaner program. And in it we have three main sensors, a PVS sensor, PFT, and a PBT in here. So we'll go over what those are in the literature. Power supply, cable, and a squeeze ball basically to make air pressure so we can demo it. So what I'll do here is I'll get the first one that I would demonstrate out, and this is the PVS, and again it does come in the demo case. It has, as you can see here, a display. We'll go through the menu function and how to set it up. A couple of the mechanical features here is it does have a rotatable head to it, a display head. Very tough to rotate so it doesn't vibrate around. But basically you can have it set up at different orientations to the cable. Also it rotates the cable to the process connector so that after you screw this into the process you can move the cable around so that it's convenient, and then you can move the display head around also so that you're able to program it and visibly see it. A couple other features are all stainless steel diaphragm. All the wedded areas, all the things that are in the process are all stainless steel. It's circularly welded diaphragm, and that's important because of a lot of other competitive units use ceramic or other types of diaphragms, and they have to have a separate seal, which of course now is another place for leaking or for it to go bad. Also, these typically come with the process connector attached to it. We do have versions that have female connectors as well. But this again allows us to basically have one system here without having to have another seal or install another process connector. So from a mechanical side, it's very similar to other devices on the market in terms of works as an industry standard process connectors, G threads or NPT threads. But it does have a couple mechanical advantages that are nice, including one of the things really is the display. It's a very nice blue backlit display, multi-segment. It allows you to do a lot of programming and teaching with it very easily. So we'll get right into that. There's an up and a down arrow, an info key, and then basically kind of a select key. If I press any of the buttons, it tells me what unit I'm in. It's very important. This right now is set up for PSI, but you can have this in bar or megapascals or any of the standard pressure units. If I press and hold a key, it'll actually run through switch point 1. Oh, excuse me, I pressed the menu key. Let's get out of here. I'm doing it upside down. It's always a little bit interesting. We'll go into that here. So I press the key, it says PSI. If I press and hold the info button, it will run through the units PSI. Switch point 1 is 3. Release point is 2 PSI. Switch point 2 is 5. The release point, so basically the history, so this is 4. Right now my lowest pressure has been -1, my highest pressure has been 13. And so basically with a quick hit of the info button, hold it for a little over 2 seconds, it'll run through basically the major settings in this. So when this is in the process at your customer's site or on a machine, you can quickly walk up and see what this thing is actually doing and what it's set for. To change those parameters, now we press and hold the menu key, and it says switch point 1, SP1. If I want to change the switch point, I press this enter button, and right now it's set for 3.0 PSI. I use the up and down arrow key to go in basically half PSI increments. And if I hold it down, it'll go faster and the numbers will change faster. So I'm going to move it back down to 3. Press the enter button. Then I'll move down. It says release point. So basically it'll turn on at 3 PSI, and then the pressure goes down. Where do you want the output to turn off? Basically, what's the switching hysteresis? So here I have it set for a 1 PSI switching hysteresis, but I can change that to 1.5 or whatever number we want for the release point of that switching output. So I've gone through that. I can do switch point 2. I've set that up for 5 PSI. The defaults are in the hundreds, but with the squeeze ball, I can't get up to 100 PSI. So I made them some fairly small numbers here for the demonstration. So when you get this in the demo case, if it's factory default settings on there, you might want to change them, otherwise you'll never see the switch points turn on. There's some extra functions and EF extended functions. That would be one thing maybe to start with, is you can set the reset back to factory defaults in here, and that'll be maybe a good place to start from. Here's where you can also change what the units of measurement are, when you're in the EF part. So you can reset the factory defaults. You can change some delays, on and off delays. So that's very important. You can change what, like I said, the delays. You can change the units here to all the different units, and then you can also say, if, like I have this as a demo unit, so you can actually change what some of the you can actually label what this sensor is. So you can actually put a tag, is what they call it, in, and actually I made this one say demo unit, but you could have this labeled to be whatever pressure system the customer wants. So now I'm just going to screw this on here. So again, what I would suggest doing is resetting to factory defaults, and then changing it to some pressure values that are a little bit more normal. So I screwed this in. One tip is to actually push in while you're, because if you just squeeze it, it kind of leaks around this area if you don't watch out. So push in and squeeze on it, and basically see the numbers. And you can basically see how high of a number you can get it to. You notice I set the switch points here. So you have two blue LEDs, one for switch point 1, one for switch point 2. So once I get to 3 psi, switch point 1 turns on, and I think the other one was 5 psi if I remember correctly. So once I get to 5 psi, switch point 2 turns on. Now it turns off, and then switch point 1 turns off. And that's the set at 3, reset at 2 psi. So that's the set and reset hysteresis to it. So that is the main functions of this sensor. It's very nice to use, very nice to demonstrate, mainly because of the display on here. There's a couple other sensors in here, like I said. There's the PBT. That would be the next standard sensor to use. There's no display. It's not very interesting to demo because it doesn't have that display or that feedback. But in the same way, you can unscrew the squeeze ball, screw it into the sensor, and you can do an analog measurement. So for that, you would need to actually have an analog meter available. The output, I won't bother having you try to read this here, it's very small, but it is a little bit different from some of their sensors. It's basically a 3 or a 2-wire sensor. Basically you have ground on pin 3, which is our normal blue, and then L plus, or the power, is brown. That's also the analog output. So you'll see when you look at the sensor, it'll say pin 1, L plus / QA. That's the analog output. So the way I have it wired here is I have my ground, my blue on ground. I have a meter going from the brown wire, which is typically power, and I have it go back through the meter and then right to power. So basically the power comes out of here, through the meter, and then back to the brown wire. So what I'll show you here, I have another sensor that's just really easy to show, to demonstrate. This is a hygienic one. There's no hole, process hole, so this can go in hygienic food and beverage applications in a tri-clamp. But it's really easy because I can just kind of push on it. Basically, I can see the analog output go up and down. So if I release it, I get 4 milliamp, give it a little bit of pressure, the milliamps start increasing, give it a lot of pressure, and you can kind of see the relationship between pressure and the analog output on there. That is about it for the sensors. To help you decide and know which parts to use, what makes most sense, we have a very good pressure and level measurement. I won't necessarily call it a catalog, more of a selection guide that talks about all of the different level sensors and pressure sensors that we have. So it goes through all the pressure sensors. It's part number 8012972, which you can find on the sales organizers and our web, and it goes through basically what all the products can do. Also, on the sales organizer, you'll find kind of a one-page selection guide of the different families, their general specs, and some questions that you can ask to determine, to try to narrow down and get to the exact right part number you need for the application. Thank you very much.